And we're live. Finally, we are back. Jeff and I are back with another podcast. Well, obviously, on here, Mike and Mitch
Yes.
podcast a while ago, like right before the Flyers bye week and the All-Star game. Jeff and I did a podcast on his
Yep.
podcast. I'll probably link it down in the video for this one. So if you want to hear that, take a look at it. Yeah, we're back. Got a good amount to talk about.
Yeah, for
here.
sure.
Some surprises, I would say,
Yeah.
at least at the halfway point. But this is probably the point where I guess we can get into this later. But when we're talking about the standings and everything, where you kind of maybe look at it a little more, or where like this is where teams start to go for it. 'Cause
Yes.
we're going to February now.
Yeah,
It's January
it's
31st.
scary
Today's
that
January 31st,
tomorrow
but-
is February 1st. It's
Yeah.
scary that tomorrow is already
Yeah.
the first
Mhm.
day of February.
It's the first day of February. Two things happen: the trade deadline this month, and also for Flyers fans and Penguins fans, the outdoor game. At the
Yes.
link.
And ironically, so that game is on February 23rd, and that's 2 days before the NHL trade deadline. So
Mhm.
that's literally
gonna be interesting.
that's going to be the last
Yeah.
game for a couple Flyers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And,
If they aren't traded beforehand.
exactly, and we'll get into that obviously
Obviously.
later. And
But I guess by
yeah.
going off that, we can kind of go off our first thing we kind of want to talk about, which was some trades that happened the
yes,
past couple days or whatever.
yeah.
Give
So
or take.
the first trade was actually a big trade.
Yeah.
The Toronto Maple Leafs acquired defenseman
Mhm.
29-year-old Jake Muzzin from the LA Kings in exchange for Carl Grundstrom, the rights to unsigned defenseman Sean Dursey,
Mhm.
and a 2019 first-round pick. And now for Dursey, he was the Kings' second-round pick, 52nd overall in the 2018 NHL draft. He currently plays for the Gulf Storm in the OHL, and he's 20 years old. So he is eligible coming up. Wait, okay, this is throwing me off already. That's because he's unsigned. That makes sense now. I was going to say, if he was signed, then he would either be in the
Yeah.
NHL or AHL
They
right
have
now.
the rights to him.
Yes, they have the rights to him, but they have not signed him yet. So if they were to sign him, they would then have him go to other, most likely the AHL. So, but that's basically the biggest trade there.
Mm-hmm.
What are your first thoughts with this trade right here?
It's a good move for my opinion, for the Maple Leafs.
Oh yeah, it's a home run
Because
right there.
Not only do you get some pressure off of Morgan Riley, your top
Yes.
defenseman, you get a little more defensive
You
help.
get a huge bulk in defense there.
I mean, your defense wasn't great to begin with, but
Right.
if you really wanted to go to it, not that I think they would, but you can always put Riley and him together.
I think they should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that would be a very lethal
Yeah.
defense pair.
I agree.
But
How did they?
yeah.
I want to see what they have it as for.
Yeah, no, I agree. So while you look that up,
Mhm.
there's a great for LA. Obviously, this is a big loss for them in Muzzin, but they get a good amount in return. I definitely still like what Toronto gets. I think easily have won this trade entirely, but
Yep.
they still
If you believe Daily Face-Off,
yes
they have Morgan Riley, Jake Muzzin together, Jake Gardner,
I
Nikita
forgot about Gardner.
Zaitsev, and Travis Dormet and Ron Hainsey.
All
as their
right,
third pair.
it's getting better.
Yeah.
It's not great, but it's getting
No.
much better.
That's just the problem they had before. And
Yeah.
if you're trying to make it,
A deep playoff run, which I
Yeah.
think they will, especially
I
with
mean, you already have some of the things you need. You
Yeah.
have a pretty good goaltender in Frederick Anderson.
Yep.
I don't think I'm saying too much there. He's good, not really great. He's had moments of being great, but
yes.
he's good. You obviously have Tavares and everything, such a great offense. So the other, just you think right there, it's already a team that's good to compete. But you look at the team that's ahead of you and Tampa Bay, and a team that you possibly will have to go up with. You have to focus on your defense because they have such just as good of an offense, as well as Boston and all these other teams in the East you'd have to battle up against.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think overall, so here's my
Mhm.
thing. I honestly don't think that the GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Kyle Dubas, is done yet. I think he might be
No.
looking to add at least one more key piece. It's going to be
wouldn't be
a nice depth move to help this team. It might even be for another defenseman to really, really bulk up.
If I had
that
to guess, that's
blue
probably
line.
what it would be.
Yeah.
Offensively wise,
They're
have no problems
set.
there.
So honestly, if it would be anything, it would be another strong defenseman, or
because they already have the veterans and not really defensively really yet. But you have Marlowe, who's been in the playoffs a long time. You have Tavares, who's been around for a long time. You had the veterans there that have seen it and everything.
You got the young guys in Marner.
You finally have Nylander.
Matthews. Nylander's
Nylander
back.
signed a while ago, but he's getting his feet back and everything.
He's still getting used to it.
Sure. But when you're gone for like the first 2 or so months of the season,
it doesn't help.
No.
Yeah. But I do think that Toronto, especially now with the addition of Jake Muzzin, will be an extremely lethal team.
Yeah.
And I think this will help bulk them over to the conference finals. I think they've had a great chance at least of going to the second round, but I think with the addition of Muzzin alone, it's going to help this team so much. And hopefully, I think the chemistry will kind of click together.
Million, they're just going past this.
Yeah.
They still have $4 million in cap space.
Okay.
After this trade and everything, which they'd have to use all of it for Marner and Matthews alone, pretty much.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, you have him for 2 years at least. His contract ends 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
$4 million he still has on his contract. So
they do have Par Lindholm, UFA, not much money there. Jake Gardner, big UFA there. He's $4.05 million cap hit. Ron Hainsey, $3 million cap hit. I think Hainsey will be gone. There's Travis Dermott, Martin Marinson, Igor Ziganov. They'll all be gone. Garrett Sparks, he's an interesting player. I think that they'll re-sign him. He's only 25, and I think he might be able to make a comeback and get re-signed here and be their backup for a couple more years. But other than that, and they're also, remember, they're retaining Phil Kessel's salary for a couple more years for $1.2 million. So that's a couple mil going down the garbage can right there. But I think all in all, like a lot of the contracts they have to sign they're small, but the three biggest ones: Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Kasperi Kapanen, and then now 4, and then Jake Gardner. So those 4 players will get relatively good contracts. It's just a matter of how much.
But not saying it would happen, but say they make another trade for like a defenseman.
Yeah.
Like Gudis. Not saying this would happen, but
potential.
I've heard some
rumors.
Maple Leafs fans wouldn't mind having Ratko.
That would be a very interesting.
Just saying, if you get a Ratko depth defenseman, help wise, not him in general, but saying a defenseman like him and a trade that also would help. At least middle of the pack.
I have a trade. Gudis for Kasperi Kapanen. You know what? Let's just make it
Gudis for Nylander.
Gudis and AMAC for Austin Matthews. Let's do it.
Nah.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good one. They gave up a good amount for him, too.
They did.
Which makes me believe that he's not just a rental.
No,
if you're giving up a first-round pick this year,
and
even though it's this year and you already know you're making the playoffs, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but there's
they're
also
in the back end of the first round, but that gives
their second-round pick from last year, and it's not ideal to give up a second-round pick. Or that you use to get a player, especially someone like Sean Durzi.
Yeah.
I think Durzi is going to be a pretty remarkable young defenseman, and for many years to come for LA now.
Yeah. And now LA has the thing like.
Now they should have
you
two
have two first-round picks.
Yeah.
So you have one near the beginning of the
one
first
the end.
round. Yeah.
Yeah,
so now you have to be smart with how you go about it.
Yeah.
Or you can use their their draft pick you just got, and possibly move up.
Exactly. Which what you could see for sure.
Sure.
Just
if they do
advantage.
what most teams do who aren't as good and trade some of their pieces.
Yeah. So that was certainly a big trade there. Another trade, this one's not as big, but Jamie Alexiak traded back to the Dallas Stars from the Pittsburgh Penguins for a 2019 fourth round pick.
which was pretty much a 4th-round pick beforehand.
Yeah. The Penguins will now own 3 4th-round picks in the 2019 NHL Draft. Their own, the Buffalo Sabres, and, of course, this pick, which originally belonged to the Minnesota Wild.
Right. Yeah. Those are really the 2 biggest ones that have happened. There was one yesterday with the Wild and Devils, Ryan Murphy for Michael Kapla. But those are pretty much all the trades that have happened. But I would not be surprised with the trade deadline looming that you start seeing more trades. Not that it seems like since the middle of January, at least, trades have gone up. They stopped for a little bit, but that's just because of the All-Star break and everything.
Right.
You'll probably start seeing that more. And you'll probably see more trades, possibly more trades like Jake Muzzin, but bigger trades, not just little trades. That's just my thinking of it. But I think you can move on from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one thing I noticed before we got on was just the standings in general.
Yeah.
And I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Mostly teams that I wouldn't have thought at this point of the season would be this far or be in this hunt or whatever, or in the playoffs if the season ended. But right now, I would say it's probably the time where teams are probably going to care more about wins and losses, and really make that stand for trying to get to the playoffs. And one team I would start in the East in the Atlantic, and I think the biggest surprise is Montreal being 3rd in the Atlantic.
Yes.
Above Boston by a point.
That is...
But still, right now they're 28, 18-5. Boston is 27, 17-6. So it's close between them. But
yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I would have to believe that's mostly because of Carey Price and everything. But
for sure.
But another thing I've noticed, too, with NHL lately is if you're a fast team or a team with speed like Montreal has, you're most likely going to have a good team. Just because, unlike the Flyers have okay speed, not great speed.
Not great, but okay. Yeah, and I see what you're saying.
But
and
fast teams always seem to skate around them. I'm just saying the Flyers as an example because we see them all the time. But
yeah, for sure.
Fast teams seem to have like an edge right now.
Yeah, and
like if you see a team like Toronto, they have speed. Tampa Bay,
extreme speed.
I guess you could say the top 3 teams in the Atlantic.
Yeah, and if I can comment here for a second, because I want to, because you brought a very interesting point with the idea of speed behind a team's kind of identity.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably why Montreal's doing well too.
No, and I agree with that 100%.
And why Buffalo is doing so well, too.
Yes. No, Buffalo's a great example as well. And a lot of these teams that nowadays, you see that they're so young, and a lot of these top players that they have on these teams that are towards the top tier of the league, they have that speed. They have that depth. And I've always believed, I've kind of noticed this the last few, 2-3 years, that these top teams are on the younger side. Not only that, but even some of their older guys, they still have speed to them.
Sure.
They have a lot of depth. And I think that speed, depth, and the ability just to score as much as these teams have been, that's the key to success. And that's why a lot of these teams, like perfect example, Pittsburgh, they won back-to-back cups, 2015, 2016, 2016, 2017. Just because they use that speed and skill along with their size and depth,
and also having advantage. Having 2 good goalies.
Yes, and that's obviously goaltending is a huge part of it. But I'm trying to think
even Washington, they had some speed in their game too.
Yeah, for sure.
But they also are a weird one where they have some speed, but they're also a little bit of the NHL in the past.
I think they're
saying like a player like Tom.
Right,
Wilson,
yes.
And how teams are trading to try to get a player like Simmons and stuff like that. Just not really a grinder, but someone who can still score.
Playmaker.
Playmaker, but who won't be afraid to throw around his body. Yeah. So they can go up against a Tom Wilson to knock some people around.
Yeah, for sure. And
which is why you see Vegas have like a Ryan Reeves. Why Pittsburgh traded for Ryan Reeves and then trade him away. Not even the playoffs.
No.
The whole reason why he got him is so Crosby doesn't get hit, but then you trade him in mid-season.
But I do think that
like even Tampa Bay has been rumored for like a Simmons player just because even though how great they are, they're looking for a guy who can knock bodies around.
Yes, I mean they do have a great body for Tampa Bay. That is in Ryan Callahan.
Sure, but
and he's getting up there and everything. And I think they would need a little bit younger of a guy like he's not as old, but he's up there. He's 30. Again, Wayne Simmons. Great goal scoring.
Good
he's just good, but I think he does have a lot of value to him.
Mm-hmm.
I've even heard his name getting linked to a reunion with Pierre Laviolette in Nashville.
Yeah,
and that would be
because they're another
addition.
one.
Exactly.
Because the team that won the Stanley Cup, teams are trying to find
that missing piece, and I think
something to go up against Tom Wilson. Winnipeg has it, and Bufflin, he's hurt now, but they have it in
But
Bufflin.
they have him.
They're good.
They kind of have him in another one in
Vegas
Scheifele for
sure.
He's a very heavy body, and I was at the game on Monday, and that game got to be rather physical. It was a very slow first start.
Even Tanev.
Yeah,
Tanev is small, but he's like Konechny. He can
throw his body. And a lot of these
he
teams...
wasn't afraid to go up against Hagen a couple times.
Exactly. I saw it, and these guys were going at it. It's great to see. And, each of these teams...
But that's kind of the way the NHL has progressed. And what you're going to see more is teams probably going more the speed way.
Than physicality.
But still one of physicality way, but because that can give you a little bit
But it's more speed to it, like you're saying. But I really think that these teams as a whole, the reason why they're succeeding so much is, again, that speed is a huge factor.
I think you could say the same thing about Vancouver.
Yes, Vancouver.
They're a young team.
But they have so much speed and skill.
Winnipeg's the youngest team, and look how good they are.
I know. It's
but
so
Winnipeg's
scary.
also up there in a young team, but they're still learning and everything.
Yes. Same thing with Vancouver. In Vancouver, where they sit, you showed me this before the podcast, third in the wild card. They had 52 points. They're... tied in points being Colorado. The only problem is that they played one more game, so that's
and two more losses.
And 2 more losses, which is the reason why.
But they have one more win. So
which is the reason why they're behind Colorado for the second wild card. But still, a win propels them into a current playoff spot, a point behind tied with Dallas for that first wild card spot, and then they will be like 8 points behind Vegas. But still, it's a very encouraging sign for a lot of these teams that
if you're
have been
at
out of
now,
it for so long to use their finally utilize their younger guys and make their team become overall lethal. What were you saying? Go ahead.
If you look at the West, the Pacific in general, I think the 3 teams you see now are the 3 teams you're going to see take the division. That might change where they're put or where they are. But I think because of how close they are and how far off the teams behind them are, because there's a 10-point difference between Vegas third and Vancouver. But the Central's a little closer with 55 being Minnesota, and of course the top 2 who are obviously
just running with Lee.
Yeah.
Do you know a team that I absolutely love how well they're doing? Calgary, 71 points. They're doing better than both Winnipeg and Nashville.
And they're doing it without James Neal doing well, too.
Yeah. I really did think Neal would be a huge X factor for them, but he's been disappointing. I think that's... I'm not sure why that is, but I think Calgary will be looking to add some sort of big piece, and maybe them will even
heard
be...
rumors, or I've heard people say they have heard rumors of... Flyers possibly talking with Calgary.
Yeah, and I think Calgary could also be a tremendous fit for Wayne Simmons. Puts him in a great spot for a great playoff run.
Right.
I think he'll kind of replace Wheel. Good one. James Neal, that is.
Yeah.
In that top forward spot in which they were hoping they would get in him when they signed him earlier in the offseason to, I believe, that 4-year deal.
My only fear of that is I feel like they might want to trade for Mike Smith. Not that he's doing well, but I feel like they're
right because the veteran goalie. I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind it, but he hasn't played particularly well recently. I think he's
I think there's some players that kind of need that little kickstart, and that kickstart can be a trade to a different place. Like that's why I thought last year,
and also
when the Flyers because they were obviously they were forced to trade for a goalie when they got Pierre Mrazek, but I thought honestly I think this is going to be a great pickup for the Flyers. Obviously in hindsight it's easy, it turned out not to be, but at the time I was thinking this is going to be great.
Yeah.
You know, because they need a goalie. He's a young goalie. He has good potential, and he's been struggling in Detroit. That is, Mrazek.
Yeah.
But this could be a great kickstart for him to get a fresh new start.
He's got it now. He has it now in
Carolina. Exactly. So it's the littlest things in these players nowadays that might
because even in Philadelphia,
their careers again.
I think he had the same feeling that it did in Detroit and the backup to Jimmy Howard and the backup to Brian Elliott here. Possibly third string once Neuver's coming back or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think now that, could be the number one here.
Yeah, and it's really fair to say because he's been doing rather well compared to Scott Darling. Carolina, they are 5 points out of the wild card spot. They're 54 points compared to Columbus's 59. That's the second wild card spot. 2 points behind Buffalo, and Buffalo is another team that's exceptional, doing exceptionally well this year, way better than most expected.
That's also helped to Jeff Skinner.
Yes, and that's kind of a big blow to Carolina because their GM even mentioned, they're like, oh, yeah, we could use a lot more scoring right now. It's like, well, you had a great score in Jeff Skinner, but I think that
I'm looking at Peter Razek's numbers.
Yeah, not as great as we're saying.
Goals against 280, saves against 894. Curtis McElhinney 250, goals against 914.
Wow. Maybe it's McElhinney then that's just doing.
I think they're just splitting because 23 games for Mrazek, McElhinney 18.
Ooh.
They just keep going back and forth.
Yeah. But still, they're doing well.
Sure.
And under a new head coach and Ron Brindamore and Brindy's doing a sharp job.
I mean, what helps is Sebastian Aho doing really well. And
yes.
Also you have Justin Williams there. He's a veteran.
Yep. And he's been around. This is his second full stint with the team. And he does well there. I'm very happy for his success.
Right. But another one that I find surprising and interesting is team that we've mentioned before. I mean, I don't know if they will make the playoffs, but they're right there. If you're looking at the standings, Arizona.
Yes.
50 points, 23, 23, and 4.
They are, again, one of those teams that they're 2 points out of... No, wait, no. Or are they're in the Pacific or Central?
Pacific.
Okay. Regardless.
Well, they're gonna be in the
wild card. Yeah. That's how I was just wondering.
Any other Pacific team is gonna be wild card.
But so Arizona, they're only 2 points behind Colorado.
I think you're thinking of when Seattle comes in, they're moving to Central.
That's probably why. And then 4 behind Dallas for those 1 and 2 wild card spots. And I think this is a great opportunity for Arizona. They could look to bolster their lineup a lot. Now the question is, because I need to take a look at Arizona's...
Oh, yeah, this is completely random.
Yeah.
But this happened while we weren't podcasting, but isn't the next Winter Classic Dallas and Nashville?
Yes, it is. 2020.
Dallas, I
yes,
thought about
I'm so glad you did mention that. I am very thrilled. 2 brand new teams in the Winter Classic. They're hosting it at the Cotton Bowl. Yeah. Two teams I've never seen outdoor ice time before, and at the Cotton Bowl, like I mentioned, Dallas is technically going to be the home team, and they're facing Nashville. And then the Avalanche, they're in a 2020 Stadium Series game, and they're facing the LA Kings.
Okay.
So that would be another good game. The Kings have been in one outdoor game prior to this one.
Right. I wasn't trying to change the subject.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, I'm glad you mentioned
Stars because of the
and then that rang a bell.
No,
I'm glad it did. I think it's great, and but
it is interesting, and if you think about it, you think with Anaheim, would they miss the playoffs?
They could.
That's possible.
I think they will.
This is why I kind of brought this whole kind of thing up. Is look how close kind of the West is. Even Edmonton's right there still.
They're lurking. Same thing with St. Louis, but they're there.
Yeah.
But my only fear for a team as young as Arizona, and not only that, but even with some of their better players, they are dealing with a lot of injuries right now, and especially so key players. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, he has a lower body injury. as of like 9 days ago. He sat out the previous game due to a lower body injury, and it's unclear if he'll set up Saturday against the Sharks. I don't know if he did play against the Sharks or not. The biggest one, in my opinion, is Christian Dvorak, a pectoral injury. That's right. He had pectoral surgery, and he's actually in danger of missing the entire 2018-19 season. So that would be a huge loss for them. Nick Schmaltz is gone for the year. They traded him. Got him in the Dylan Strome trade with Chicago a little while back. Michael Grabner, he'll miss an undetermined length of amount of time because of a left eye injury. It's not a good time for Arizona.
Ouch. Know what else sucks for them?
Oh, gosh.
Is that ever since trading Strome away, he's done really well for
I know.
Chicago.
See, that's why I was telling you that I think Strome just needed that little kickstart.
I guess.
He's one of those players that I think just needed a kickstart to go somewhere else.
Or maybe he just didn't really like being in Arizona.
Maybe that too. I don't know.
It's like the Semi Panarin thing where he wants to be in the big city.
Yeah. But I just think that...
That's another thing I wanted to kind of bring up too.
Yes.
You can finish your thought.
Yeah, you're good. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Looking at the standings, look who could possibly also be falling out of it if we're talking about Anaheim, but Columbus is really hanging on. I mean, it's still... Yeah. It's probably still too early to look at this stuff, but still just something to look at right now just because...
Yeah.
I'd probably say a little... Yeah. We're close towards the end. We're in February now, almost, but just about in February, and things are going to start heating up and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But Columbus is still hanging on to the second wildcard spot. They fall off, and obviously they're off if what happens with Bobrovsky and Panarin. You don't know what's going to happen with them.
Right, and kind of speaking about Columbus, it sounds like their GM says he won't, trade Panarin. They may keep him as their own kind of quote unquote rental for the playoffs if they do get there.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with them. I'm curious.
I still have a belief that the Islanders will start to fall off.
Oh, I'm kind of waiting for it
because they're only 3 points. They're
shocked.
3 points above both.
Yes. Pittsburgh and Washington. Yeah. They're leading the Metropolitan Division, which I don't think anybody would expect. Either same thing with that in Montreal, because I had both of those teams. I'm sure you did as well at the beginning of the season towards the very bottom, not only of their divisions but the entire league.
Montreal had in the middle.
Right. I think I had Montreal very low.
Yeah, you did.
But hey, this is why
everyone
why we
play
play
the
the
same
game
thing with Buffalo too.
Yeah, I remember.
I did.
Excuse me. I remember having Buffalo higher up. I think I might have had them just missing the playoffs, but I at least had them higher up.
But it's just one of those things that's fun to look at right now.
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
Seeing teams that right now you wouldn't have thought coming into the season would be here.
Yes.
And why just to say what we kind of been saying from the beginning, it's just it seems like the teams that are doing well right now are the teams with speed.
Yes, I agree with that. Just some quick side notes around the league. Antoine Vermette hangs up the skates officially after 14 NHL seasons. He was a long-term member of the Arizona Coyotes, won a Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks. David Perron is on the IR, so that's a big loss for the Blues right there. Sam Morin, a quick update about him. He is apparently close to being sent down to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms for a 2-week stint. So hopefully that'll happen there sooner rather than later. Jamie McGinn was placed on waivers by the Florida Panthers. And a little injury update for Shane Gostisbehere. He was listed as a late scratch Monday night against the Winnipeg Jets, and everyone was very surprised by it. Turns out it's not. I guess he got had some sort of lower body injury. They announced during warm-ups, actually. So it sounds like there's some sort of bruise there for him.
Can't be more specific than that.
Right. Scott Gordon, the head coach, said, and they announced this morning that Gostisbehere is not playing tonight in Boston. He's not also not playing Saturday Gordon said, we were hopeful for Saturday, but I don't think that's going to be realistic. The fact that he had 8 days off, been off for a week, and now you're at 2 weeks, and since he's played, whether it's Monday or the following Thursday, I don't know yet. So, lately, Christian Fullen has been playing in his spot. How likely would it be for someone like...
That's what I was actually about to bring up.
Right.
I think
like Philip Myers to be called up.
Because I saw that on like Flyers Twitter and everything of how long. Because I saw someone go like, I wouldn't be surprised if like he would play soon just because of the injury to Ghost and everything.
Yeah.
And also because Fletcher, I forget when, but he said that Myers is really close to being NHL ready or coming up.
Yeah, no,
he pretty much said the same thing he said about Carter Hart.
Yes.
Except for the Carter Hart situation. He had to call up Carter Hart, but still kind of the same thing. Which I kind of hope he's the one that they bring up, or he does get brought up, because I don't know. I don't really trust the Flyers with both McDonald and Fullen in. But at the same time, I'm still counting, even with the Flyers' recent winning streak, I still consider the season a lost season.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's the case. But this time, it's you might as well bring up another player too, including Myers, for experience. You know, you'll get these guys in some ice time, and it'll be good for them. Not only that, but quick update. Actually, Christian Dvorak is on the ice at the Coyotes practice in a non-contact jersey. Not sure if he's staying out for the entire practice, but it's obviously a sign of progress, according to Craig Morgan. He's the lead Coyotes writer for The Athletic. So that's good news there for Dvorak. He's at least skating, but he's in a non-contact jersey. But jumping back to the Flyers now, I think that it would be good for Philip Myers and maybe Nicholas Aube-Kubel. You see that Mikhail Vorobiev is back up.
With him coming up, I don't know if he would come up.
Right. So I don't know if Knack exactly would get called up since Vorobiev is back in the NHL, which I think is great for him. I think you're seeing a little bit of a different player than where he was at the beginning of the season.
And obviously he's going to be playing at a more limited role than he was before.
Yes, absolutely. And Vorobiev, how much of the game did you see on Monday?
All of it.
Okay. So you know the goal then that he helped set up. That was the first goal of the game.
Yeah.
That was a great. I'm sorry. That was the New York game. My fault.
Yeah.
The
Phil Veroni one.
Yes.
Saying?
Yeah. So he made a great play in the corner.
I texted you like right after that happened too.
That's right.
The first line looks a lot better with Misha on it.
Yeah. I was wondering what you kept saying, because I think you spelled it Micha, and I kept thinking you were saying Michael, as in like Michael Raffle. I was like, why are you forgetting the other letters?
Still on the same line.
But it was just throwing me off, and that makes so much more sense. I was like, this is throwing me off completely. What are you saying?
But I think you're starting to see that. I think Carter Hart might have been, like he said, with guys being traded, but like maybe a jumpstart for this team. Yeah. Or maybe the fact that he was able to come out not hurt of laying on his head for a while there.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for him to get that first shutout.
Yep.
You always think it's going to happen, but then they always score that one.
I know.
But even without that, he's played great.
He has. He's
and
played
nothing
phenomenal.
against the team, but even when they were like struggling and everything right before this winning streak, they were getting kind of hard to watch. Like they don't have like the speed that some of these other teams have.
Yeah.
But they're also weird in that the Flyers can also kind of mimic what the other team's doing a little bit that they're playing against. So if a team's being more defensively or playing more defensive, the Flyers will play a little more defensive.
Yeah.
And if there's a team of speed, they'll just do the same thing.
Yeah.
I've kind of noticed that. I don't know if it's just me, but that's just kind of something I've taken from the season, at least right before the winning streak and everything. But even since then, since I'd probably say the 2 games after the break bye week for the Flyers, I guess the week was much needed because the Flyers look a lot better now. Especially that game in Winnipeg, they look great.
Right. No, I agree with that.
I'm not even joking when I say I think that might have been their best game this season.
I agree. They
Mine is some
sharp.
like little things here and there.
Sure, and I think that's still going to be.
They played it close to as 60 minutes as you can. Most of the time, they play 40. Then there's a 20-minute third period where then they stop and they lose somehow, or the first period they're not there. And they kept a shutout with Stolarz, too.
They did. Stoli, the goalie, he looked real sharp.
Which then always brings you back to the question of what happens when these guys get healthy again.
Yeah.
Which I'm always afraid of, because I'm always afraid they're just going to send Carter Hart down. But I fear is once they do that, then their better play is probably going to start to slow. Or not going to be as well as it has been. Because I generally believe their better play is mostly because of Carter Hart and everything.
Yes, no, I agree. It's exciting. Not only that, but it just motivates
maybe
everybody.
Brian Elliott, you could, once he comes back, if he's playing where he was at the beginning, let's see someone he wasn't hurt, maybe, but even then, he's gotten hurt 3 times this season. He's 33. I don't see it, and Neuver's going to get hurt like the game after he plays.
Yeah.
So I think the 2 goalies you see here, I wouldn't be surprised if these are 2 you see for a while.
And I honestly would
not just saying future West, I'm just saying for the season.
Right.
I don't know what happens with Stolarz.
I'm not sure. I would like to. We can kind of jump into that now of the Flyers.
Because the Flyers are probably going to want to either trade for a goaltender or maybe try free agency for a goaltender.
Well, we might as well jump into where they stand for this season and all season for UFAs and everything. Mm-hmm. So obviously, Wayne Simmons is their biggest.
Which is something I kind of, before we get into this, this is kind of something I brought up to you before, is that with Chuck Fletcher now leading and not really having any, or just coming in here, or not really caring about blowing up the team. I would not be surprised if the UFAs want to come back. Maybe Michael Raffle they try for, but I could see them having them all walk.
Laterra is definitely going to walk. 4.7 mil. He's gone.
Follin, I see.
Follin is gone. Veroni, he's an interesting story. 28 years old. He can prove he can stick around at least a little bit. It won't hurt to give a 1, maybe 2-year contract. Nothing too much.
$750,000 is nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. So you might as well. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Or you can just kind of hide him in the fade again.
That's true. Raffle 2.35 mil. Simmons 3.97 mil.
If you don't trade him beforehand, but sure. Yeah.
Yes. I think Simmons is going to be gone. Raffle, I would like to see them kind of bring back.
So would I, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's another one.
Yes, because he's also a pretty strong depth player that teams could go after, surprisingly.
Teams could go after. He's good on the PK and everything. And obviously in the playoffs, special teams comes a little more important. Yes. So you want to get as many good guys on there as possible.
Ever since he kind of came back from his lower body injury, he's been looking pretty fast. Yeah, he has. He looked great on Monday.
Again, it's like last season where he hasn't really been putting up the points to prove it, but it's just kind of on the eye test. But he does look better. And now that you don't have a Laterra or a Weiss holding him down, the fourth line looks a little better now. Yeah. With Vorobiev now on there with Veroni too.
Right.
Which also kind of brings me back to this. I think we might have brought it up in your podcast, but what happens with Corbin Knight when he comes back?
I don't know.
Because that just does another thing on the fourth line. Unless
he's 28 years old, $650,000 expiring contract. Unfortunately,
Chuck Fletcher's not going to have any love for him.
No, because he's one of those Hextall guys.
Yes, he is.
And I think, unfortunately for Corbin, his time is.
He's a Hextall guy. He was also a Hackstall guy. Because he was at North Dakota.
That's right.
There's no more North Dakota here, so. But you do have
North Dakota.
What?
I think there's one North Dakota, but nothing too major.
Yeah, I mean there's Scott Gordon, but I don't. Scott Gordon has coached. Scott Gordon coached him. Yes. Coached him on the fans.
Scott Gordon can do what he wants.
Yeah. Even him, I wouldn't be surprised if Chuck Fletcher says, "Meh."
Yeah, gives him the X.
Let's just kind of start fresh with this team.
And then you got a bunch of the other UFAs.
I think
McKenna's gone for sure. Elliott and Neuvert. Neuvert's gone. Elliott, I could see them possibly re-signing.
I think he's a last resort kind of guy.
Exactly. And not only that,
if they can't find another veteran goalie that they feel comfortable putting out there.
Not only that, but I could see them, re-signing Stoll, because Solars is an RFA, but I could see them bringing him back for a couple of years or something like that, maybe 2-year deal. But the only reason I think they bring back Elliott or Neuver, I don't know which one they would bring back most likely. Elliott, I could be wrong.
I think Neuver's done after the season.
That's true. I mean, he probably
is.
He's
only 30, but I think
I'm
he's
just
done after
speculating
the season.
here. But I think for Elliott, my thing is that the only other reason they're still kind of keeping him around is because he's a good veteran to learn, to have part of heart to learn from, and even Anthony Stolar. So, I think the Flyers are going to look to spend big in the offseason for free agent goalies.
Chuck Fletcher has said he wants to be busy around the trade deadline, around the draft, and around the
free agent frenzy. Yes,
which makes me think to clear up some more cap space from your already. $8.249 million.
Yes. You'll get 4.7 more mil after Later's gone.
Yeah, if you
get rid of Simmons,
that's close to 7.
If you possibly get rid of someone like Raku Gudis, that's another 3.35 mil.
But that also
so you're looking at a solid 15 mil at least.
That also depends on what you're bringing back too.
Right, and that's a really good point. So I think you could potentially be looking at 15 mil by the off season.
I wonder.
Great.
Wouldn't be surprised if we maybe try trading away McDonald. I mean, he might eat some salary, but
what you could always do is if you can't find, and also don't forget.
But not just to say this, but Carlson's a free agent. I would like to see Erik Karlsson here.
That would be nice.
But again, you're gonna have to get a little more than 8.249 million because he's gonna eat all of that.
I do think though that one player we definitely won't see at all next year in the AHL or NHL for the Flyers, Dale Weiss. I think
whether he is bought out
or traded. Yeah, because Fletcher basically flat out said that he's trading. Yeah. He's looking to trade Dale Weiss. 2.35 mil cap hit. So his contract expires not this year, but the end of next year. So honestly, no matter what happens at the end of this year, whether he's gone by trade or being bought out, he'll be gone.
The sad part is this is probably the best he's been on the Flyers.
I know. And he's 30 years old and just, also, don't forget Mike Vecchione. He is a UFA. I think
he's gone.
Unfortunately, he'll be gone. Tyrell Goulburn, he'll be gone. Cole Bardrew.
The only reason why I think he might be back is just he might not care about the Phantoms as much. I might just re-sign the guys.
That's true. Just have extra bodies.
Yeah. Or see, I don't know how he feels about some of these AHL guys or guys in the Phantoms because I don't know. I think he's gone down there a couple times, but what he sees from the scouting them and everything.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. But the Flyers have plenty of options out there and on what all they can do. But it'll just be interesting on what happens with this team. Honestly, even by the trade deadline, I think this team will be a much different team. Yeah. At least one key piece will be gone, and the biggest guess is Simmons.
Yeah.
The bigger question is which team will he get traded to, and what will they get in return?
If you're hearing what people or what some of the people would know, kind of things through Twitter and everything, or NHL Network, if they brought it up there and everything,
probably
they've always said like a playoff team or a team close to the playoffs,
right?
That would use a guy like him, that kind of thing. What we talked about a little while ago about Simmons being someone that a team like even the Lightning would want.
And I'm glad you brought that up because apparently, according to Darren Dreger, the Lightning have at least checked in with the Flyers and Hurricanes about trading for forward Simmons and Michael Furland.
Furland's another guy like Simmons.
He reported the news during a radio spot in Montreal. Below is a part of transcription from Chris Nichols.
Josh Nichols?
Yes, Josh Nichols. Megan! And it's the little bit here from Dreger is, believe it or not,
we all know who to blame for this bad season. Megan.
Believe it or not, I think Tampa Bay has inquired on Wayne Simmons and on Mike Furland. I can see both of those players. You can't get them both, but if Tampa Bay were able to find a way to add one of those pieces, that would be a nice little add for them. A little bit more bite in their lineup, but both of those guys can comfortably play in your top 6 or worst case top 9. But have a player like that, a power forward who can play throughout your lineup up and down, will be a premium type of asset. I certainly do think that for Simmons, because I kind of want to take a look here at Tampa Bay's lineup, what you could get in return from someone like Tampa Bay. And my biggest question is, I don't know if they'd be willing to part ways with a piece on their current roster. It's like hypothetical trade here. Tampa Bay gets Simmons. In return, they give up a first-round pick for sure, or a second-round pick and a relatively good player, like maybe like a JT Miller, Cedric Paquette, Adam Earn, possibly Yanni Gord, because Simmons could replace any of those guys in their lineup. Sure. Now, the line of...
The only reason why I wouldn't say those guys is because they just signed, especially Yanni
Right,
Gord.
Exactly. I'm not saying it would happen, but I'm just saying like something possibly could happen, and I like, or Anthony Cirelli. He's another young guy who's been superb. The one thing I would love, it's not going to happen, but for the Flyers to get Braden Point. I love Point. I think he's a tremendous young player, and he's going to be a top asset for the Lightning for years to come. And he's a true diamond in the rough for them. And because I'm curious to see where they kind of drafted him at. All right, here it is. 2014 draft, they took him with a 79th overall pick. They moved up a spot in the third round to draft him. Wow. So, yeah, he's the fact that they got him in the third round, that's a real strong third round pick and a great find by the Lightning's scouting staff.
Because that's kind of how they have to scout and draft now. Is
because
they're not going to be a team that's lower or whatever in that draft or have a very good height or draft pick. They have to rely on these later picks and everything.
Right.
Which even just looking at how they found Andrei Vasilevsky and everything.
Exactly. And honestly, like, more than half their team, they found Tyler Johnson, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Yanni Gord, Andre Palat, Anthony Cirelli,
Danik Martel.
Oh, gee, I wonder where he came from. Adam Earn, Cedric Paquette. They had Koek, but they traded him to Chicago, which I think is still a mistake, but that's just my personal opinion. But yeah, so Tampa, realistically, I'm not entirely sure what they would be willing, how much they would be willing to give up for Simmons.
He would obviously just be a rental because they can't afford him.
That's a good point. Yeah,
which is why you think the the give back won't be as much.
That's true. It would. I think it would at least be a first round pick.
Yeah, you'd think.
You would think, but regardless, that first round pick.
But even if just going about there, the other teams you'd probably think of is a team like Winnipeg, Nashville maybe.
Tampa Bay, unfortunately, it would not make any sense for them because their projected cap space is $1.71 million. So the Flyers would have to be, they would be forced basically to take a player like Ryan Callahan.
Yeah. I need some of Simmons. Maybe not.
Well, not necessarily, because Callahan's cap is more than
Simmons.
Than Callahan. Simmons 3.975. Callahan's 5.8. But I mean, we'll see.
It's just a random shot in the dark. But I wonder if Anaheim tries.
That would be also a
team. They're always a team that looks more defensively,
right,
in the playoffs and everything.
I don't know if they can. They don't have the cap season. $62,101.
Right,
but they have a first round pick. They don't have a third or a seventh, so they have 5 picks in 7 rounds. They need to re-sign Jacob Silfverberg, which could be an interesting trade, kind of a trade there. Silfverberg for Simmons.
They got Milko Rosado.
They do. Brian Gibbons, $1 million contract they need to re-sign. Derek Grant, Adam Cracknell, $650,000 apiece. Delzato, $2.25.
Ryan Miller.
Yeah, Miller, Chad Johnson. So we'll see what happens.
They're also missing Kessler.
And they're missing Andre Case is a big loss for them. They're also missing Corey Perry and Patrick Eaves.
Yeah. That's why they aren't doing as well. But still,
Yeah.
you got to take it while you can while they're not doing as well.
Right.
But that's another thing with Anaheim is one of those things we talked about before is that they're an older team.
Yeah.
Which is why you're going to want to try to sign back Silverberg, even though he's 28.
I think the best fit for Simmons could be Nashville. They have plenty of cap space, 7.10.
I would not be
cap
be
space
that
there.
surprised if they traded like one other defenseman.
Maybe someone like I doubt it, but Matthias Ekholm or Ryan
Maybe.
Ellis. Yeah. They probably wouldn't go for this, but if the Flyers could swing a trade for someone like Ryan Hartman or Kevin Fiala, or even Colton Sissons, that'd be great. There's no way they'll get someone like Victor Arvidsson. They need him too much. But if they could get, or even that'd be near to impossible because Simmons is obviously better than Hartman and Fiala combined, but they're both NHL. They both have NHL roster spots.
They're also in their mid-20s.
Yes. So it just wouldn't be good.
That'd be asking too much for Simmons.
It would be, but in that case, you wouldn't have to give up a first-round pick. So I don't know. I'm very, very, very curious to see how this all happens.
Winnipeg has the cap space too, $5.6 million. Almost $5.7 million.
There they are. And looking at their UFAs, Brandon Tanev.
That's the other problem too.
Tyler Myers, $5.5 million. Oof. Ben
That's their problem.
Chariot, $1.4 million.
That's like looking at Toronto. You can't really look at that.
Their starting goalie in the other. Well, they're technically their backup, but he was the starting goalie the other night in Philly. Laurent Brossoit. Bufflin's contract to 2021, 2020.
I still say you play RV for Simmons. Do it.
What was that one?
Play RV for Simmons.
Magnus Pay RV?
Yesy.
Oh yeah.
I moved on to the Oilers.
From Edmonton.
Yeah, I moved on to the Oilers.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Magnus Pay RV, but you're talking about.
I was looking at teams. I was looking at the teams RV. In the cusp and the team that would make a trade like that.
I could see them going after Simmons as well for the Oilers. That is, they would have to give up someone like Jesse Puljujärvi and.
But the cap space again. 51,000.
Yeah, that's definitely not being. That would not be enough.
Because give $6 million to Milan Lucic.
And I love how it took him just like the other week to fire Pierre Chiarelli.
I know, right?
It literally took him.
It just took one last terrible move for him to finally get the can.
I can't believe that. That's just wow.
Yeah. They sent down Ryan Spooner, and that was it.
Yep.
Even though I think the problems there is higher up than that.
How would you feel about a young defenseman in Darnell Nurse coming to Philly as in part of like a Wayne Simmons deal? So I think he's got a lot of potential there. He left-handed defenseman, 3.2 mil cap hit, just a little less than Simmons.
The only reason why I think they wouldn't do that is because they probably want him for
the long run. That makes sense, yeah.
But to go back a little bit on Dale Weiss, he's not like Simmons in a way, but kind of like Simmons in a way, just not as offensive, obviously, and everything. But he still gives you a little bit of slight grittiness still. And he is okay on the PK.
Yeah.
So he has some value, not a lot. So if a team really wanted some very depth defenseman or depth forward or whatever, then maybe. But the only way I'd see that is if another depth forward they have was hurt and was out for like the season or was out for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So let's do this, Jeffrey.
What's that?
Fun prediction time.
Oh, I love fun predictions.
This one starring Dale Weiss.
Oh, here we go.
Does he get bought out or traded?
I'm going to go with the rare. He's getting traded.
Oh.
I know.
Where would you think he would be traded to?
Well, let me go back to the standings. Honestly, it's going to be to a playoff team who's looking just for an extra body for a depth forward. It wouldn't be much of a move. Maybe Fletcher could steal like a 5th, 6th round pick for him at absolute most. Between a 5th through a 7th round draft pick for him, I think he could go anywhere to making a return back to Montreal, possibly to the Islanders, or now they kind of hate him there, but I'll say it anyway, to the Boston Bruins. One of those three teams.
They probably hate Cole Julian more because he went to
not his fault they fired him.
True, but I'm just saying.
And I agree with that.
They went to the enemy.
Hey, shouldn't have fired him.
Yeah.
But that's at least what I think.
That's probably how some people thought of Rick Tocchet when he went to the Penguins.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Oh, quick update. Actually, I forgot to mention this. I just saw this. Brett Howden suffered an MCL sprain during Tuesday's loss against the Flyers and will be sidelined 3 to 4 weeks. So that's a pretty big loss for them there for one of their younger players. But back to the Dale Weiss.
My
prediction. Prediction. What is your prediction, Mike?
I think it goes all the way towards the trade deadline.
Okay.
But it'll be like a last-ditch effort to get rid of him, but I don't think anyone's going to touch him, and they're going to have to buy him out.
Okay. I mean, both options are very, very reasonable. I just don't know which one's going to come first.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to
say... Because right now, you already got him off the Flyers, and he's on the
and
Phantoms. You also had him go through waivers, so you already know no team's going to want him. At least with the salary, there might be a team that might be interested, but you have to probably get retain some of his salary there.
You know, I think that.
And the other teams are also thinking is 2 years. I don't know if I want Dale Weiss for 2 years.
Right. Here's my thing. Well, I think there might be some retained salary for them. For Weiss, that is. My another condition for my fun prediction time. It was for Weiss. I am losing it now. Darn it. Never mind. It'll come back hopefully.
All right. Let's do one last prediction, and let's do tonight's game against Boston.
So tonight's lineups, most likely for the Flyers, I'm assuming they'll be the same from the previous 2 games. Drew centering JVR, Travis Konechny, Lindblom on the second line, being centered by Sean Couturier, Jake Voracek, Scott Law, and Nolan Patrick, Wayne Simmons on the third line, Mikhail Vorobiev centering Phil Veroni and Michael Raffle. The defense pairings could be the same. Ivan Provorov, Travis Sanheim, McDonald, Lafon, and Robert Haig with Radko Gudas as for Fulham. He's playing because, again, Shane Gostisbehere is still not ready to go. I don't think he'll be in, like I mentioned earlier, for Saturday's game, according to Flyers analysts. And Carter Hart will get the start again, or will be back in, I should say, as he took the night off on Tuesday. As for Boston, their morning lineups looked like this. Brad Marchand with Patrice Bergeron and David Pastrnak. You have David Krejci along with DeBrusk and Celeric, Frederick Heinen and David Backes, and of course the fourth line, Sean Corrali, Nordstrom and Wagner, Chara and McAvoy, the first defensive pair, Torrey Krug, Brandon Carlo, second defensive pair, and Moore, along with Miller, third defensive pair, and Tuukka Rask will be in net officially tonight. So that's a big big factor for the Bruins. They could have the upper edge with him coming back. But, again, I want to say, is this his first game back since having that concussion?
I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think it might be.
I think all season-wise, it's kind of been Niemi slightly edging Tuukka Rask anyways. But even the game the Flyers beat like a week or so ago before the bye week, whatever they were playing Niemi. But this time, I'm going to say the Flyers' winning streak will come to an end.
Yeah.
I don't think you can beat the Bruins 2 times in 1 month. There
Nice.
it is.
There's 2 times in like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Wow, look at that.
2 times in 2 seconds.
All
and
right.
The mic goes upside down.
Oh.
I took towards the end of the podcast, but it finally happened. But for me, I'm going to say a 4-2 Flyers Bruins victory.
Yep.
I say Pastrnak has 2 goals, Marchand, and McAvoy.
Who's scoring for the Flyers?
Nolan Patrick and JVR, because he's been scoring a lot lately.
Yes. I will actually have the Flyers winning this game.
Ooh.
I know. Little controversy here. Haha. The season series is split 1-1. This will be officially the 198th all-time meeting against the 2 rivals, as well as their third and final meeting of the season series.
Wow, that's early.
Yeah, they, again, have split the first 2 meetings with each team winning on home ice. Flyers won the last meeting January 16th, 4-3. The Flyers have won 2 of the last 3.
Are you saying this isn't going to be a season where the Flyers' playoff hopes die playing against the Bruins?
They have lost their 9 of their last 10 at TD Garden, including the last 4 trips. Stop celebrating. But I think this streak will come to an end. Flyers win 3-2. For Boston, it'll be Marchand, because he always has the Flyers number for some odd reason, and Pastrnak will be the goal scorers. For Flyers, I agree with you on JVR. And as well as Travis connecting. He's going to stay hot, and he's going to get the ball rolling. And we're going to have a defensive goal with a rare Radko Gudas goal.
Ah.
Yeah, so
there you go.
there's something from there.
I get. Are you saying going into overtime or
regulation?
And also a thing to think about too with those stats is that most of those losses and everything came final seconds.
Or final seconds.
A lot of these games lately with Boston have been
Brandon
close.
Manning own goal.
Right. But like
I agree.
The recent Bruins games have been close between the two.
I think it will still be regulation for the Flyers, but a lot of them have been very close games.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking losses, but
Marchand mostly.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. But I think with those 2 predictions, I think that's where we're going to end it today.
Great way to end it.
Yep. Great to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And Flyers Bruins tonight, 7 p.m. You can catch that game if you are in the radio, or if you're in the radio. If you're listening,
in the radio,
if you're in the radio, if you're
look
listening,
for 97.5
The Fanatic on the radio. If you're driving, you can actually watch us not only NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus, you can also catch us on NHL Network.
Ooh.
So there's a bonus there.
Bonus
coverage there.
It's just going to be a simulcast of the Flyers broadcast, probably. Or the Bruins broadcast, one of those.
No,
That usually goes to the home team, so
that's
true.
Go to that's a good point. Well, I prefer JJ and Jonesy.
So do I. But
anyway, so Flyers Bruins at TD Garden, 7:00 start.
And don't forget about Jeff's podcast as well.
Yes, that is Light the Lamp podcast. And hopefully I'll be getting back to that one sooner rather than later as well. And I'll be appearing on here a little bit more often.
Yep.
In the next couple
now
weeks.
that the bye week and everything is over and everything, we're going to try to get back into these podcasts. So stay tuned.